Falcon fans, Falcon fans, Falcon fans, and of course, Falcon fans. You already know what it is. You already know what to do. One time for the fan. We are back. Another episode, 226 now, here talking Falcons football, Apple Podcasts, Spotify Podcasts, Amazon Podcasts. We are everywhere. T. Will, for my ATL Sports, is here talking Falcons football again, Falcon fans. One time for the fan, big shout out to Kerry. One time for the fan, big shout out to Bodie. One time for the fan, big shout out to Chase, who for some reason wants to challenge me in this new NCAA that's getting ready to come out. Chase, I know you're one time for the fan. I know you're DFU, Dirty Fanatics United. But Chase, I'm telling you, man, it's going to be problems when we get on this PS5, man. I'm a whole different breed when that NCAA comes out. T. Will, before we get to our special guest tonight, man.
Is that going to be Falcon on Falcon violence?
I hope not. You know, I try not to play Falcons versus Falcons as much of a diehard fan as I am. And then when it comes to being a Dogs fan, I don't want to play Georgia versus Georgia. You know, I mean, I know there's a lot of Georgia fans out there, but there's also a lot of college football teams, way more than NFL teams. So try to find a team to play with. You never know, you might be able to play your boy Jack Spade. T. Will.
Yes, sir.
How have you been, sir, since the last time we talked on One Time for the Fan?
Oh, well, man, no complaints. Thank God it woke me up this morning. Excited to talk some Falcons football. Excited to talk with my friend, Jack Spade. And, Jack, we have a very special guest today, sir.
We do. We have a special guest here. Falcon Fan Talk, again, is back with another special guest. You know, we've been bringing a lot of special guests here to the channel, Falcon fans, journalists, writers, media from all sorts, and just fans of the NFL team of the Atlanta Falcons, the team that we love so much. But now tonight we have a very special guest, Daniel Flick from Sports Illustrated, who will be joining us here shortly. And he spends a lot of time covering the Atlanta Falcons too as well. But Terry, you know how big it is when we have these special guests on the show. Sometimes we can't even get to the chat. Right. Sometimes we can't even get to a lot of the questions, and people's always, chiming in. But if you have some questions for Daniel tonight, please ask them now about the team. Daniel is really close to the Atlanta Falcons when it comes to covering them as a writer, and as a journalist, he does a great job. Right. I mean, an extremely great job. Right. So Falcon fans, if you have your questions about the team, Casey Washington, the offensive line, the defensive line, go ahead and ask them in the chat. We'll talk about that. But Terry, how cool is it to have these special guests join the show, man? And then, of course, we're getting ready to bring Daniel Flick on. So let's go ahead and get him in here shortly.
All righty. Well, if you want, I can go ahead and introduce him, Jack. And we can
sure, man. It's on you, my brother.
All right, ladies and gentlemen of the very esteemed One Time for the Fan show, we have Mr. Daniel Flick joining us. He is an accredited Atlanta Falcons sports writer with SI Now. Also writes for Indiana football and men's basketball with Fan Nation, and is a contributor to Lindy Sports Mag. And get this, not only does he cover football and basketball, but he was also a talent scout, or he did an internship as a talent scout. So Mr. Daniel Flick is well-rounded. Mr. Flick, welcome to the show. How are you?
I'm doing well, man. Really appreciate the intro. Man, yeah, I haven't thought about the old talent scout days in a little while, but yeah, I appreciate that. I'm feeling fresh, man. Really missing football. Ready to roll. Really excited for training camp here. Arriving in Flowery Branch in exactly 2 weeks, so very excited about that, and really appreciate you all having me on.
Yes, definitely here at One Time for the Fan. We love talking to Falcon fans. We love talking to everybody who gets the opportunity to cover the Atlanta Falcons. I mean, we've reached out to so many people here, and we have so many special guests coming up on the channel. But Daniel, for you to take the time out of your day to come talk to us here at One Time for the Fan, we want to say thank you before we start the show, because this is going to be a great show tonight, because I already know that everything you've tweeted out, everything that you talk about when it comes to the Atlanta Falcons is on point. So fans here in the chat, they are ready for July 24th. They are ready for that practice training camp that starts. The training camp that starts July 24th and then open to the public practice. That's July 27th. But this is that period of time during the summer where fans can get their vacation time in. They can relax with their family. But it's about to be go time here in a couple of weeks. So, Daniel, for you, it's always go time. Just let everybody know, who is Daniel Flick? How long have you been writing for Sports Illustrated, covering the Atlanta Falcons, and how much of a diehard fan are you?
Yeah, man, I've been rolling for about 2 years now. I want to say started April of 22. writing for SI. Got to Flowery Branch last summer, and then I've been there more frequently this summer from about rookie minicamp onward. So that's been really fun. It's really neat for me because, I grew up around Atlanta, around the organization, and then kind of having that transition into the media world has been really neat. It's I feel very fortunate and have had some very, very cool opportunities the last few years. But yeah, man, I mean, you kind of mentioned it. You have like that 6-week gap, right, from the end of mini camp to training camp, the last month or so of just relaxing, vacationing, and then you really, it is a full-on sprint, man. Like once you start camp all the way through week 18 and, playoffs potentially this year, it's a full-on sprint, a complete grind. And it's really been nice to kind of step away, if only slightly. Obviously, the grind hasn't stopped. I'm not sure it ever will stop. But we love the grind, right? We love the grind, man.
Let's not get over what you just said. Now you just said playoffs potentially. So within the first 5 minutes of the show, Daniel Flick has already said playoffs potentially. We've mentioned that here a lot, right, T. Will?
That we have.
Come on, Falcon fans. This is going to be great talking with Daniel Flick. Daniel, you've also been around the press conference room during the offseason, the mini camp and OTAs. Off ball question here for Raheem Morris's demeanor when you see him walk into the room and talk to the press, like how would you compare him to other coaches that has been here in Atlanta, other head coaches?
Yeah. One of the first things with Raheem that has stood out to me, just he's very, very energetic. You can really feel his energy, very, very welcoming individual. That it's not exactly that's something that has changed, right? My first interaction with Arthur Smith was at a Starbucks in Vegas for the Shrine Bowl last February. So he was always very, very polite to me. Really, really appreciated him. But Raheem, throughout the off season, because I was there at the I was in Orlando for the league owners meetings. I was in Indy for everything that, the whole combine, that whole experience is always very hectic. And then rookie mini camp, OTAs, everything. And then again, I'll see him again in a few weeks, but very, very genuine, very, even off camera. I think a lot of people can see some guys on camera and think they're a certain way or a certain, an act, if you will. He is very genuine, very legitimate, very, very personable. And he's got an energy to him that's kind of infectious, and always smiling, always laughing, always messing around with somebody, but very serious when, it's needed.
Nice.
I've always felt, comfortable around him, I think. And just, he's very, if you have a question, he will not just shrug it off. And I think a lot of the other coaches I've been around, if you don't ask maybe a great question, you might not get a great answer, which is fine.
You're right about no, you're right. Yep.
As a reporter, it challenges you to ask a legitimate question, which unfortunately is not always common in the modern media landscape. But Raheem, regardless, is a very, very caring, very empathetic individual. And I think what's really neat about it is that he will go as in-depth as what you need. He understands that we have a job, and he will provide as much information, as much content as you need for whatever question you're asking. So from my seat, he's been a dream, because he is a quote machine, and I really appreciate that.
And of course, from your standpoint, like you said, it puts you in a position if you have a tough coach, like if it was Bill Belichick, so to speak. If you ask the wrong question, he might say, who is this guy? I'm never going to answer a question from this guy again. Or certain coaches, their demeanor might say, don't ask that. Never ask that again. Or just the way they might look at you when you're asking the question. Raheem, we see it from the fan standpoint when we're looking on the camera, when we're looking at YouTube or Twitter. Like, he just seems like a player's coach. He seems like a coach's coach. He seems like a fan's coach. Right? He's real cool. He's down to earth. He's relaxed. Like, you can see in his like what when he's out, like just doing his day-to-day away from football. Like, he's just so cool. I told you the other day he was in that interview, Terry. He was just wearing a Braves hat, right? It's like he just feels like Atlanta is his home, right? So Terry, you hear what Daniel was speaking about when you mentioned Raheem. I know you had a question for Daniel too as well, but just your thoughts on Raheem's demeanor so far this offseason.
I'm gonna be honest with you. I wish I could be a fly on the wall in one of those sessions, because whenever I hear Raheem speak, he literally gives me goosebumps. You know what I mean? Like, because it is genuine, right? Like, you can tell people that are just camera ready and camera friendly, but off camera, ew. It's not that way. You know what I mean? Raheem is genuine. He is personable. He cares about Atlanta as a city. He was here for one of the worst collapses ever, and you can tell that is stuck with him. And he's positive. He's uplifting. So my goal, or one of my dreams, would be just to sit in on a press conference, because for me, well, you know what? Maybe not, because I probably would be, starstruck. I probably wouldn't. I'd raise my hand and be like, and not have.
Don't be starstruck now, because Open to the Public practice is coming up, and you're probably going to get a chance to chop it up with Raheem. So don't be starstruck now.
That would be great. But no, in all honesty, I think Raheem is probably one of the most charismatic coaches we've ever had, and I hope that he can deliver us a championship. But he seems to have all of the things in play. He seems to know what he's doing. He seems to be about his business. He seems to be intentional, and he seems to be ready. Those are my thoughts. Jack, what are yours?
I mean, I showed you the video, and I'll definitely put it up here the next episode of One Time for the Fan. Like, I'm right there behind the bench, whenever I'm at the games. So when back in 2016, like, Raheem would come out the tunnel, of course, Dan Quinn, everybody, but I would just yell, Raheem, and he would just run over there. What's up, man? What's good? Dap me up, talk to me. What's good, man? Everything all right? Every single home game, even some away games too. He'd be like, man, you here again? Because he knows that I'm a diehard Atlanta Falcon fan, right? He knows that I'm going to be there through thick and thin, no matter what it is when it comes to the team winning or the team losing. Because at the end of the day, I still got to go to work tomorrow, right? But Raheem is a real one. And I'm glad that we have him here in Atlanta. There's a lot of coaches that they were looking at in the offseason. But I think they got the right guy now, right? I think they got the right guy to lead the way. And we heard him talk at these press conferences and outrunning the South and communication and energy. Some of these words and themes he's been using to speak to his team just really shows that, he's a player's coach. He's a coach's coach.
Captain America.
He's a great guy. Oh, the Captain America looking comment was great when he called JD on the draft night. It just shows that he has a connection with these players on and off the field. You know what I'm saying? And he's going to be here to lead the way. So, Terry, I know you had a question for Daniel, man. I know some Falcon fans want to talk some Falcons football. But, Terry, the floor is yours, my brother.
Thank you. And, Daniel, again, thank you for your time, sir. Greatly appreciate it. One of my questions for you is, in your opinion, Jack and I and Carrie and, Chase and Bodie have all kicked this around. But in your opinion, who benefits most from the addition of Kirk Cousins to the offense?
I think Kyle Pitts is a very natural answer here. I think Kyle Pitts, I think Drake London, to me, are the two main ones. It's really funny thinking about Kyle Pitts and thinking about how even before free agency started, how he was reaching out and almost recruiting Kirk to Atlanta. Not tampering, of course, but that kind of shows to me just how bad he wanted that veteran presence there. And again, I don't think it's a coincidence when you look at Kyle Pitts' career that his most productive year, the year that he was closest to being the player that everyone expects, of him, was in 21 when he had a veteran QB, had Matt Ryan, and one of the things that Raheem mentioned at the owners meeting way back in March that I keep coming back to every time I'm, on the subject of Pitts is that the veteran quarterback presence is knowing where you want guys. It's knowing, this is where you should be. And, it's like they can tell you how to run the route as well as anybody else in that entire organization can. And, for as good as their chemistry has been on the field, they have very strong off the field chemistry as well.
We've been hearing that. Yep.
Very often joking, very often laughing. I mean, they're pretty close.
Are you in the group chat, Daniel?
I am not in the group chat.
Okay, just want to make sure.
No, I'm unfortunately not. Was not invited on their one-time golf outing. Not that close yet. We'll see after the end of training camp potentially. But yeah, no, they have a pretty impressive bond considering they've known each other for about 3.5 months or so. So I think that's important. And then with London, Smitty, I think he's looked very good, very athletic, very smooth. Healthy is the word. Me and Kevin Koger, who is Atlanta's new tight ends coach, I asked him about his entire room, and when I asked him about Pitts, he started talking about how he's finally comfortable again and confident. And you can see, there's a listed size, and then you can see guys, and they're not always what they're listed at. And he is every bit of 6'6", 240 pounds. And then I think Kevin talked about, you see him on the field and you're like, guys that big shouldn't be able to move the way that he can. And he looks like the athlete that earned the unicorn tag. And I think that's important. He's finally had a healthy offseason. He's got a veteran quarterback who he trusts. He's got a quarterback who can accurately throw the football consistently. And I think he is really enjoying life right now in Flowery Branch. With Drake London, kind of the same idea, except he didn't have that 21 season, right? He didn't have that veteran QB. It's still kind of new for him. He's learning a new offense, has a new position coach. I think Ike Hilliard is a very important figure in Drake London's growth.
I'm glad you mentioned that because people just keep forgetting that we have a wide receivers coach as strong as Ike Hilliard. Yep.
Yeah, one of the things that Ike mentioned very early on in his time in Atlanta, having this in-helmet perspective from playing in the NFL for, I want to say, 10 to 12 years at a high level, right? And Drake has talked about that too recently of like, hey, he knows and the way that he can teach certain things is just new. And, all love to TJ Yates, very, very good, human being. He even admitted like he is a lot more comfortable working with QBs, which is where he played, which is where he began his career on staff, much more comfortable with QBs than receiver. And it's just a new deal. And, I think that's elevated the room. And Drake also, whether it be with Kirk or Mooney or Rondale Moore, McLeod, there's so many pieces in that room now who are new and around him at important spots in this offense to where there's a lot less pressure on Drake, a lot more attention elsewhere as well. And he's looked good. I thought he looked really good last year, last summer, especially. And I kind of thought he'd, eclipse that 1K mark. With the pieces that he has now, I really think there's no reason he shouldn't reach 1K as long as he's healthy. And I think he's in line for a pretty big third year.
Falcon fans, hit that like, share, and subscribe button for Daniel Flick. He's in here talking Falcons football with us here on One Time for the Fan. Daniel, you're talking about that 1K, and I have to bring up this tweet that you put out here because I know Falcon fans, they love to go to Twitter. So that's what we're going to do. Head on over here. You said one thing you wanted to draw some attention to, that Drake London and Cordell Hodge, the Falcons' top returning wide receivers from 2023, told Mooney that the main difference they've seen in the 2024 offense is we're throwing the ball. London and Hodge told Mooney putting the ball in the air because they know they have a quarterback who can sling it. And you talked about 1K from possibly Kyle Pitts. Is it possible that Drake London and Kyle Pitts could get 1,000 this year? Because Kurt is throwing for possibly 4,000 yards because we've seen the stats, right? If we try to go out and predict this season, Kirk Cousins' stats from previous years have shown that he can easily get 4,000 yards. With an offense as talented as what is around Kurt, is it possible that Kyle and Drake could be two members of the team that have 1,000 yards?
I do think it's possible. There are a lot of mouths to feed, and I think that's kind of part of it too. And the numbers might not be there each and every week for them to reach that because there are a lot of mouths to feed. I asked Zach Robinson about this, and I want to say early June, about how they'll kind of weigh the personnel that they'll play. And he mentioned more 11 personnel, more 3 receiver looks. And that could, in theory, mean you'll see Pitts in line more. And it could also mean that you'll see that slot receiver role play a more prominent role this fall, which then, would draw at least a few targets away from Pitts, from London. And I think the Falcons are going to try to get a little more creative in terms of the way that they'll utilize a Rondale Moore, utilize Algier, the pieces that they have. I think they're trying to be a little bit more balanced this year, because I think you're looking at a situation where I think Mooney could easily put up 800 yards. They've mentioned Bijan Robinson in that McCaffrey role on several occasions to where
that's a heavy role if you mention Christian McCaffrey, because he damn near is everything to San Francisco's offense outside of Deebo Samuel. So yeah.
Yeah, I mean, he led the NFL last year in all-purpose yards, I want to say. So I mean, he is extremely versatile. But I mean, with Robinson as well, I would expect him to get about 500 or so receiving yards as well, and then you look at Mooney and Moore and McLeod and all these other mouths to feed. Reaching 1K for multiple receivers might be a bit of a stretch. Mm-hmm. At the same token, Zach Robinson has mentioned Pitts playing in that slot role, playing everywhere. They really want to move him around. And the other part of it too, with Zach, he mentioned that Atlanta signing Charlie Warner this spring opens up.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, opens it up to where you can use Pitts more in that slot role. You can have that 12 personnel. On field, it's 12 personnel, but it's really, you're in an 11 personnel look because you have Pitts playing that slot role, and then you've got all sorts of mismatches. And so I think Zach Robinson, again, this is that time of the year where every offensive coordinator is very, unique and very innovative, and you've got all this optimism. I think Zach Robinson, the way that he's sold it so far, at least to me, is promising. It's hard to commit to say that they'll get 2 at 1K. Mm-hmm. I think you'll see London get to about 1,200 or so, maybe 1,300. Mm-hmm. I think there's a very real avenue to where Pitts is at about 850 and Mooney's at about 750 to 800, to where then you think about those guys, that's about 2,700. Mm-hmm. And if Cousins is at 4K, you've got
Casey Washington, whoever Ray can fit in, maybe Algier every now and then too as well. Maybe even Charlie Morton too as well. I mean, Kyle Shanahan's offense back in that 2016, everybody ate. When you spread that ball out, everybody was eating. But you're correct about that. Yeah.
So I mean, then you're talking about 4 or 5 or 6 other players reaching about 1,300 overall, and then it's a lot of mouths. So we'll see, because they are planning on being more pass happy. That's been the main thing that everybody's said. That said, they are still, they have the pieces to be a very good rushing football team. And I don't think they're going to abandon that either, and that's the thing that Zach's trying to balance is, this LA offense, but also trying to keep some of what Atlanta has executed well previously. And a lot of that, again, they've been a top 10 rushing offense each of the last few seasons. So they will continue trying to run the football. They will continue being this wide zone team. It's just going to come down to, I think they'll be playing with the lead more often this year too, which will also, in theory, lead to more rushing attempts, a fewer passes in theory again, but a lot of mouths to feed. Hard for me personally to say you'll see more than one guy over 1K.
You mentioned lean on that run game too as well. With a quarterback like Kirk Cousins coming off the Achilles and his age too as well, having a two-headed monster like Tyler Algier and Bijan in the backfield, I mean, you would want to get the ball to them more, especially if you've mentioned a Christian McCaffrey type role for Bijan Robinson. And then you have a quarterback who we put up the stats here before on the channel chat, over 4,000 yards in the past couple of seasons. So this guy can air it out. They know most teams going in to scout the Falcons now are going to say that quarterback is pretty decent. It's not Ritter. It's not Mariota, right? It's not Matt Ryan coming to the end of his career. I mean, you got Kirk Cousins where he is right now. He's still a decent quarterback. Even last year before he got injured, I think he was on pace for like 4,500 yards, right? 18 touchdowns, like 4 or 5 interceptions. So, I mean, this is good that we have a quarterback that we can look at and say, hey, the players are going to eat. They're going to spread the ball out more. This offense, is going to be high flying. But like you mentioned, they should have a lot of leads in this game toward the second half. Falcons' blood pressure shouldn't be going up. You know how fans are sitting in the stands like, oh, my God, please, not that 2-minute drill again. We don't want to see that, right? We don't want to see the 2-minute warning. It's 13-14. The other team has the ball. We got to make a stop. I want to be over that. I want to get down to it's 27-13 on the 2-minute warning. They put Penix in to take the couple knees because the game is over, right? Terry, you hear what Daniel's talking about Kyle Pitts and Drake London, this offense. Do you see 1,000 coming between both of them, or you think it's just going to be a balanced offense where we're going to win, but Pitts might not have 1,000. Drake might have 1,000. Casey Washington might be under 500. Mooney might be under 1,000. Are you comfortable with that, Terry?
I think Daniel's spot on. Like you said, you got a lot of mouths to feed, right? What was that in that Arnold Schwarzenegger movie? What was it? The Running Man. I got 6 kids to feed, man. He's got a lot of mouths to feed. So, it's kind of hard to assure 1,000 over here when you literally you got Bijan, who probably, like you say, get 500. You got Mooney, you got Drake, you got Kyle, you got Ray. You got Rondale Moore. You got I'm
gonna throw Hodge in the mix too as well. You gotta let everybody eat.
Of course, right? Mm-hmm. You have an assortment of weapons, so. You probably, if there is a guy that's going to be 1,000, I'd say it'd be Kyle. Could be Kyle or Drake, either or. And then the rest will probably be descending in order of 8, 7, 5, 6, however. But either way, I think the Falcons. I think Kirk Cousins will probably pass for 4,500 yards, 30 TDs, maybe 7, 8 interceptions, and
that's not like playoffs, Terry.
Oh yeah, I think the Falcons will win 11 to 12 games. I think we will have one playoff victory. I personally think this team can do what they can take on all comers. It's just, sometimes it's the way the ball bounces. But all things being equal, everything being good, nobody being hurt, this team could do a lot of damage. It just depends.
Falcon fans are in the chat asking questions. Daniel, I know we have some questions too to get to right after this one, but Tish wants to know what's going on with AJ's deal.
Yeah, the one thing about AJ, the Falcons staff is very, very fond of him. And I get the feeling this is a deal that, again, I'm not sure exactly when, but I do believe this is something Atlanta wants to get done. I know that Raheem Morris is very fond of AJ. I know that Jerry Gray is very fond of AJ. Atlanta's new secondary coach, Justin Hood, is very fond of AJ. The front office is very fond. Like this is organizational complete belief in AJ Terrell, to where they would like to keep him. It's going to come down to, again, I think more a matter of when and not if for where he's at right now, entering this, year 5 for him. And again, I do think this is something that they would like to get done before they start the season. Because again, you kind of start playing with it a little bit more and you reach, next January, next February, and it gets a little bit more, iffy, as you kind of start to, bring free agency and bring that tag into the whole equation. So I think this is something they would like to wrap up. But again, they are very fond of him and they will never openly say, again, that's one thing that this front office has been very adamant about is they will not negotiate with us, which is, I really wish they would. I would love to know, but they will. They really do like AJ Terrell, and I think they would really like him back.
I'm looking at this organization, especially with Terry and Raheem being there now. I know whatever's on their agenda, they're going to take care of. Like, they're going to address every issue that needs to be taken care of. Kyle Pitts situation, they're going to take care of it. Do we need to go get a quarterback? We got a quarterback. Right now, people are talking about this edge rusher. We don't have an edge rusher. We don't have a true edge rusher. Daniel, you think it's possible a move could be made before week 1, some way, somehow, where they maybe go get Yannick, or they maybe go look at a guy and say, hey, we can make a trade? Like, is that still possible looking at this roster, you think? Or you think they're set on who's in the building? That's what they're going to go run with.
Yeah, Terry Fontenot's voice is running through my brain right now of him just saying time after time of him saying, roster building is a 24/7, 360 deal. I tend to think that is a spot that, yes, they will look at. Raheem Morris said in March at the owners' meetings about for as long as he's Atlanta's head coach, he will prioritize pass rush. I think for as long as he is still there, quite literally, whether it's June 10th, July 10th, or April 3rd, he will be looking for pass rushers, and I don't think Atlanta's front office will stop. Whether that's a big name, we'll see. Again, this is a front office staff that will be very attentive come that final week of the preseason when a lot of roster cuts happen, and you have to kind of trim from 90 to I think it's like 70, and then I think I'm pretty sure they've eliminated that second cut down. So
second cut down, yeah. Now it goes down to the last preseason game. Then they make all big slate of cuts,
yeah. But and so then that becomes a really big wave for everybody. And I do think that's maybe more the window they'll look at. I'm not sure they'll target that splash. But I do think that they will continue looking for as long as that's a possibility, for as long as they can. Because again, that is something that he has harped on extensively for the last year, really extensively since he got the job in 21. Is that like, hey, this is a nonstop process, right? He's an early riser, man. But the grind for Terry Fontenot, I don't think will stop now, will stop in August ever. And so for as long as he's there, I would not rule that out.
Falcon fans, hit that share and subscribe button. I'm trying to tell y'all, when it comes to talking Falcons football, I mean, this is the true off season, right? It is the summertime. So of course, if you're in here watching while you're at work, I don't know, third shift or whatever, if you're in here watching the Uruguay Columbia game and you're listening to One Time for the Fan, thank you. Because, it's once again, it's the off season. So once the season ramps back up, we know how the chat's going to be. We know how this channel is going to be. Everybody's going to be so excited about week 1 against the Steelers and week 2 against the Eagles and so forth. But conversations like these are very important because we are getting down to training camp where, there's going to be a lot of competition battles. Players going to lose their job. Terry might be looking to make moves, looking at this roster. But when you have people like Daniel who can come in here and talk with all the fans, for those watching and listening, this is great. Because a lot of fans are really interested in what this roster is about, Daniel. What can Terry do? What can Raheem do? Like, they want to see a ring, and they want to see it now, right? So for Falcon fans in the chat, Terry, you working on your selfie game?
Yeah, that's what I'm doing, sir. That's what the bar was like over my face, so I was adjusting.
You have a trip out the country coming up? Or the angle was kind of. You got to remember. I was teaching my homeboy this the other day in South America. We was out there. I was like, "Look, man, you want to hold the phone this way, right? And then you snap the picture." He's over there trying to hold the phone, dropping the shit. I'm like, "Bro, this people's been doing this for years, bro."
I need the selfie stick, man. I need the selfie stick.
Not the selfie stick, Terry.
Hey,
hold on. I'm sorry, Daniel. Hold on, Daniel. I'm sorry.
Is that penalty? Oh wow.
We're throwing the flag on Terry.
Wow.
Terry's 2024. We're not bringing out the selfie stick.
Wow.
You got to grab the phone. Tell him, Daniel, get the phone.
Wow.
I'm just trying to think about when we'll start talking about the 0.5 photo and the art of doing that. I just learned that recently. The second that we start advancing from a regular selfie up to 0.5 is going to be a whole conversation, man. It's a 500 level conversation.
Oh my gosh. Fans in the chat, got to hit that like, got to hit that share, subscribe button. Carlton Wiggs is in the chat. Jay Diaz is in the chat. Smitty, Sports Machine is in the chat. Dre Harrison is in the chat. Big shout out to Dre, said, Ike Hilliard as our wide receiver coach is on par or surpassed as when we had Terry Rabinski. Dre Harrison's in the chat. Dropping some facts here. DSGB Hall checking in from the West Coast. Falcon fans all over the world. Whoever's listening, whoever's watching, once again, thank you. Terry, let's go back, man. We got some more questions for Daniel. We're talking Falcons football. I'm getting ready to go put my helmet on and go out there and start running some routes. So I'm ready for this season to start.
You know what? I tell you who Raheem is, right? Because I was thinking about this and just how blessed Daniel is to like witness those press conferences. But Raheem reminds me of Mel Gibson in Braveheart when he's giving this speech to them, and it's like 1,000 grown men who have been, basically oppressed for all of their lives. And he's like, you know what? Today, I'm not going to lie to you. Everybody's not going to make it. Everybody's not going to make it. Everybody that's standing in front of me, a lot of you guys are going to die. But today, for once in your life, you will be free men. And all of those days in captivity, right? If I had to, would you trade all of those days for one day of freedom? And at the end of this speech, all of these guys are like foaming at the mouth and they're like seething, like, let's go. And every time I hear Raheem talk, like that's how I feel. So just wanted to throw that out.
Raheem puts fans on the edge of their seat, Terry.
Yeah,
when he's talking about Falcons football. I mean, I told you that fan interview. He did the press conference when he first got hired, and he went back to that other room where we had the fans back there. And I'm sitting over there listening to him, and I'm like, I just want to go out there and hit somebody right now. I just want to put the helmet on. I know I'm at an age where I probably won't be playing football no more. But if he needs another safety, I can do it. But if he needs another quarterback, I do throw 80 on the run. But we'll talk about that, Daniel. That's a offline topic.
Yeah. I just want to.
I do want to.
I want to somewhere. I just want to you guys ever seen Terry Tate, offensive linebacker? How he likes to just smacks the shit out of people? If not, I will share it with you. But when I hear Raheem talk, I just want to go to my local Ingles, find the first person with a Saints fan shirt on, and bury him in lettuce. Just like, smack the shit out of him. But anyway, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. Go ahead, sir. Go ahead.
No, you're all good. I don't know how to follow that one.
Why lettuce? I'm thinking about why the lettuce. Like, why?
I wanted to share a quick story. I kind of thought about this earlier too, about Raheem from Orlando. It was that Tuesday, so he had his availability with us at, I want to say, like 7:45, and then we talked to Terry at about 10:30, and about 10:25, Raheem. So like our meeting with Terry was like at the very bottom of some steps in this hotel, and Raheem came walking down there with his son, and was just like taking him out to go, I think, explore this Madden exhibit thing, and was just like walking around with him, and it was just like Raheem in complete dad mode. And it was just kind of really neat, seeing that and just watching the type of guy that he is, just completely, again, there were not any cameras out. There was no reason. He was not putting on a facade. There was nothing. He was just, a real guy. And I think a lot of people, again, kind of forget about that like, this is a genuine guy. He's more than a, coach. He's a dad, and he was a dad on vacation in Orlando, walking around this very nice hotel, well above my pay grade, with his son, and just enjoying the Orlando experience. And I thought that was really cool. And I think something that I wish more people could see more often is that, like, this guy is a legit family person, and who cares about, his kids, who really cares about everybody around him. And there's, again, that won't win football games per se, but this, I think, says a lot about who Raheem Morris is. And I think if you have an idea of Raheem Morris and you're trying to craft an image of him, that's something that should really, 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 take the center of your train of thought.
But you're telling me the truth about that. And Terry, I know you got a question here, but Daniel, that went into that interview process when they brought him in. I can guarantee it, because Arthur, the community guy, he's a family guy. City of Atlanta.
Water. Okay, you're back.
Oh, I was underwater?
You were underwater for like a sec.
This StreamYard's been StreamYarding recently. I don't know. We're going to look into this. But, Raheem, that definitely went into the interview process, because Arthur Blank being like a family guy, community guy for the city of Atlanta, what you can do away from the game. You can see that with some of the players that they drafted, and, of course, some of the coaches that they brought in. But Raheem Morris does fit what Atlanta needs right here in the city. So, Terry, what you got for Daniel, man? Because this is great. I'm glad there's no House of the Dragons on tonight, because I would have done stop the show.
Oh, right. You'd be bolting for the door like, oh my day. This dude loves.
Hey, man.
What's the name of that show? What's the name of it again?
What, House of the Dragons?
Oh my God, bro. Yeah. Every Sunday it's like, all right, T-Will, it's 9:00. We gotta go, man. Wrap it up.
But you see, on Sunday's episode, we made it to 9:38, 9:39. I'm looking down like, damn, that battle's probably going down right now. But we're talking Falcons football. But we're gonna continue this.
Did you watch it again? Like, did you watch the replay of it? I
got to. I usually watch the 9 o'clock show, and then I go back like later on, like 1 a.m. and watch it again, just so I can just make sure everything I watched that 9 was correct.
All right, cool. All right, so Daniel, it's been my experience that PFF giveth and PFF taketh. What do I mean by that? Well, in one article, they wrote the Falcons are one of the most, if not the most, improved defensive lines in NFL football.
After the draft.
And then they came out like a month later and said, yeah, no, these guys suck. They're 28th. And I'm like, what are we like? What did I miss? Like, did y'all? I mean, did y'all renege or something? Like, did y'all? Oh, what? Who did they
But
get?
on the article, they mentioned outside of David and Grady, they have no faith in these rookies or these up and coming guys. It's like Grady and David is your two guys.
That can't be true if they're one of the most. Look, pick a side. Okay, look. Hold on. I'm gonna put on my.
Don't put the shoulder pads on, Terry. Here it is. Offense linebacker.
I'm putting on my attorney hat.
Terrible Terry Tate.
Jack, on the night of the draft, you represent PFF, or a few days later, did you not write an article saying that this was the most improved defensive line in football? Did you not?
Sure did. We spoke about it.
Please address the court. Okay. Thank you, sir. So if you did, right, on that night, then why would you then a month later come back and say that the Falcons were 28th in the league? Did they only were they 31st last year? I'm confused.
Different writer, different floor, different time of day.
Your Honor, I believe he's evading. The witness should answer the question, please. Thank you. Okay. Just thank you. No, in all seriousness, where's the reality, Daniel? Do we suck? Are we really 28th? Or are we somewhere in between with all of the additions and the fact that we have Grady and Onyemata, and wait a minute, hold on, the runaway defensive lineman, Eddie Kane Jr., Eddie coming back. Where do you see this defensive line?
Terry, I don't think we're going to know in full for about another month. That's why I think that's the one area for me in training camp that I'm very excited to watch. When the pads come on and watching those one-on-ones and a few of those other events that they have there. I'm very, very excited. I think the team drills will be very, very entertaining, especially because, again, we know what this Atlanta offensive line is. I think the defensive line, for me, watching an OTAs, watching a minicamp, the size that they have inside is very impressive. Like it felt like they were just rotating big body after big body after big body. And it really, I thought they had a lot of depth there. And I think what's encouraging about the interior, especially, not only is there depth, but you mentioned Jarrett, you mentioned Onyemata, they have high level talent at the top of that group as well. I think I say all that, the interior defensive line, I think is pretty good. I think in that whole unit, that's probably the second strongest group behind the linebackers from what I've seen so far.
Yeah.
The edge rush group, this is why I think, having the job to rank all 32 defensive lines would be so brutal for me, because I don't know how you can look at this Falcons edge group and have a defined opinion on what it is, because there's so much that we don't know, right? I think Arnold Ebiketie, very talented, and again, had in my opinion, very underrated second season. He's actually Atlanta's returning sack leader with 6 from last year. I believe it was half a sack off the team lead. This is a guy who was playing very well to end his rookie year. Prior to hurting his hand, was really turning the corner about week 12, and then again had a wrist fracture, a sprain, and then completely slowed down, and then entered year 2 and really evolved in year 2 last year. Him and Zach Harrison are the two main guys here. And Zach Harrison has added weight. Zach Harrison is confident. Interviewing Zach Harrison in May, looking up at the guy, like, oh my God, this guy's huge. Like, he
totally
is a
different person than what you saw last season.
Yeah, he is just big, man. And I think he is a guy for me that is probably the main X factor for that whole pass rush. Jay Rogers and Jimmy Lake are very fond of Zach Harrison and his physical talent and the way that he finished last year. And what they saw on tape and what they've seen so far. I think it was Jimmy Lake was saying to me that that Zach is in his office pretty often. Like Zach Harrison cares. And you look at a guy as physically talented as he is, to understand the work ethic too is very important in that conversation. The way that he ended last year, 3 sacks and 4 tackles for loss in his last 3 games, productive, ascending, hard worker, and talented, very good combination. And so for me, I circle Zach Harrison as a real breakout candidate up there. How well he performs, I think this fall will ultimately determine how good this pass rush is. If Zach Harrison continues the ascent that he was on last year, if Arnold Ebiketie, kind of that same idea, if he can continue, the ascent that he had last year and maybe turn that year 2 leap into a year 3 leap. And we're talking about a guy who was at 8 or 9 sacks and Zach Harrison's at about 7. That's really all you need off the edge with the interior guys that you have, in my personal opinion.
Mm-hmm.
That's all. That being said, before you even start talking about that whole rookie class, and Atlanta's very excited about Ruka Rororo. Atlanta's excited about Trice and Logue, and I think Brandon Dorlus has a chance to be really good as well.
Mm-hmm.
Raheem Morris has also mentioned this too. He's coming from LA when they had rookies that they drafted in round 3 last year who combined for 17 sacks. Right? You can get good pass rushers at that point in the draft. It's about fit. It's about talent. And you look at the production. Trice, I want to say, led college football in pressures last year. And I want to say Dorlus was about 15th in pressures. So those are two very proven productive players in a power conference, and with skill sets that should translate, at least in some capacity. I'm not saying they'll combine for that same sack production that LA had last year. But again, you get 3 or 4 out of those guys, that whole group elevates, right? You get 7 out of Zach Harrison. You get 8 or 9 out of Arnold Ebiketie. It's a different group, and the Falcons also have some other veteran pieces in that room, whether it's Lorenzo Carter, James Smith-Williams. I think Raheem's excited.
People haven't mentioned James Smith. Look at his tape from Washington. He's a high motor guy that got after it right beside Payne and Allen. So when he comes over here now, he has a bit of responsibility on that defensive line to look at guys like Trice and Dorlus and Rook and make them better too as well.
Very disciplined rusher. Very exercises contained very well. Just real quick question to you. Follow up to that, Dan. Because of the dominance, and Daniel, it's good to hear you say these things because Jack and I have been screaming this from the mountain. Like, number one, you were like, the linebacker group. Yes. I don't know. Zach, we were looking at some article where they were coming after the linebackers. I'm like, what are you watching? Like, we've got 4 studs, right? So it's good to hear you say that. But not only that, do you think because of the dominance of our interior defensive line, and it's good to hear you say that because that's how I felt from day one, ever since Grady got back, ever since Ayamada got back, ever since we brought back Laquelle Lunyon, what's his name from the Eagles that we got?
Katavius Street.
Right. I think that I've said often that 6 of these guys on our interior defense could start somewhere else. Right. I legitimately feel that way. So with the dominance of that, do you think that will make the job of the exterior pass rushers easier?
I do. Yeah. I think you'll see that to where you get more one-on-one matchups outside. And, that's the other part of it too. Terry and Raheem have said that for a lot of the offseason too, that, you can get pass rush from more than just edge rushers too. And I do think that you'll see Caden Ellis use, potentially on the ball a bit more, potentially over center a bit more. They have the talent at linebacker to where you can blitz a little bit and really kind of have some creative packages there. I thought Ryan Nielsen was excellent in that regard last year. But it should, in theory, free up room, especially, with Jarrett, with Onyemata, the rush, proven production that they've had as pressure pieces inside. They are legit guys. Like, they are guys that you have to actually game plan against each week because of what they've done, who they are. And if you leave them one-on-one, you are risking that. And, they haven't really, like, the early part of the summer, they weren't even particularly active. I think Onyemata was nursing something. And then I want to say Jarrett returned a little bit in the end of veteran mini camp on kind of his own little side field. So, like, they haven't even, they haven't even really been out there. And I'm still looking at this interior defensive line and I'm saying, like, wow, they've got some guys there, I think Taquan Graham is another guy that 2022 was really an ascending second-year guy playing in a 3-4 front, and Atlanta now, is in that 3-4 front again. I think that's a very interesting player to kind of circle. I'll be very, very curious kind of watching him and what role he's in this preseason. But he was working with the ones a little bit as well. And, I think – they have depth there. They have so much depth, so much talent to where they should be able to kind of recycle bodies. And yes, I think that you will see, especially early in the year, maybe when you're still trying to see this exterior rush kind of prove itself a bit more, that interior should see, I'd say probably, 3 blockers trying to block 2 guys, which again, I'm not great at math, but that's one-on-one outside, which I think should excite some people and should really create some free rushing lanes.
You're definitely keeping it real, talking to the Falcon fans here, Daniel. Looking at what you just said too as well, Dorless, his pressure rates in college, and Trice, his pressure rates in college. But then you got David Amiata, his PFF rating and pressure rates last year was through the roof. And then you have Grady Jarrett, who was getting damn near at one point, all 5 people on the offensive line was blocking Grady at one point in his career. So there is going to be some one-on-one matchups where a team has to trust that guard to go up against Grady because they got other problems to worry about right now. Or if their starting tackle goes down, they got to handle Trice, who might be coming off of a 3-sack game the week before, right? There's so many players on this team that you can send pressure from. You mentioned it about the Rams. They drafted guys that they tallied up to 17 sacks. Like, there wasn't no star player. Like, these guys were trying to make a name for themselves, but it's the coaching. It's the scheme that they're in. It's who's developing these guys, who's helping these guys be great. And I think we have a really good system in Atlanta on the defensive side of the ball with Jerry Gray and Jimmy Lake and this scheme too as well. Chase from Dirty Fanatics United is here in the chat. Big shout to Chase. He's talking about NCAA and Madden on my Facebook page. Chase, whenever you're ready, man. Whenever you're ready. He says, Caden Ellis blitzing? How about Troy Anderson? We haven't mentioned Troy Anderson here a long time on the show. How about Troy Anderson on the edge, over the center, etc.? His speed kills, and the man can play any position all the way to QB. I've heard some content creators mention it, that they would love to see Troy Anderson get after it, playing a little bit on that edge too as well. Any thoughts about Troy Anderson from what you've heard or what you've seen, Daniel?
Yeah, Raheem Morris is very fond of Troy Anderson.
Nice.
Very, very fond. I think it's interesting. The speed aspect there has been something that Raheem has said a lot so far this summer. They are very fond of the athlete there. And so I do think that he's a guy who you will see used in that role, whether it's in some of those mug looks or however they're, planning on utilizing him. But he and Landman were pretty routinely rotating opposite Ellis. Ellis was a very, very much so a staple on the ones at linebacker. I think that linebacker 2 spot, it'll be Landman and Anderson kind of rotating, probably scheme and package specific. I do think there is a very real pathway for him to succeed as a blitzer. And again, that is something that this staff, they're trying to get Troy to communicate a bit more. And he has, he has made positive strides in that aspect. They're really urging him to kind of try to send as a leader. And so he's really, last year for him was so challenging, right? Because you enter year 2 and he's a starter and you've got all these, high external expectations. You get hurt early, you miss a game, you come back, and then you hurt your shoulder late in a game when you're trailing by, I think it was 2 scores. And then all of a sudden you've got to watch the guy that you came in with, who's your roommate, in Landman, completely just take over. It was a mentally tough year for him. It also made him better. He learned a lot. He talked about this a few weeks ago. Like, he learned a lot in that time. And I think he'll come back fresh. I think he mentioned he's completely healthy. The pectoral is all good now for him. He's been a full go the whole offseason. He, to me, kind of like Zach Harrison, a real X factor here, because I think a lot of people forget the talent. Atlanta's new staff is not one of them, however. Like, this is a group that really does it. Like, it sees, it appreciates, and I think plans on utilizing the very vast and I'd say versatile, traits that you've seen from Anderson in flashes so far.
Daniel, you mentioned a lot of these coaches being fond of some of these players, talking, highly amongst them. Now you have a guy named Clark Phillips who could possibly step into that cornerback 2 role. And that seems to be the concern for some fans. That seems to be concern for media outside of the Falcons community here, because they're looking at our secondary like Clark Phillips at number 2. Falcons, you guys could have made a move. You guys could have did this. You guys could have did that. You're hearing about Clark Phillips because you're really close to the Falcons. What's the deal with Clark? Because I'm excited to see him possibly get that number 2 role. But what's your thoughts on Clark so far since he's been drafted last year to where he is now?
Yeah, I asked Raheem about Clark Phillips in March, and one of the things that I think is very relevant in that conversation, Raheem mentioned him outside and how impressive he was outside. And so when you start looking at that number 2 corner conversation, Clark Phillips is a guy that, even being 5'9", 181, the Falcons believe he can play outside, right? And so he's another guy. Raheem called him an alien, like
an AT alien. Let's go.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. So he is constantly thinking about football. I think the phrase that Raheem said that I thought was great is, he said that he's pretty sure Clark Phillips like heads to the grocery store with football on his mind. Like he really loves it. And AJ Terrell missed a little bit of OTAs, and in that time, Clark Phillips became Atlanta's number 1 corner. Had a pick 6 in practice, capitalized on that opportunity. He's a guy, the Falcons believe, that the group that they have at corner, I asked their secondary coach about this. He said, we are comfortable, we are confident, like very straightforward. They like what they have. Clark Phillips, is among that group, and a guy who has rotated in with the ones throughout the summer. I think probably the favorite to be the starting corner opposite AJ Terrell. And, again, last year, the way that his rookie year went was so strange, right? Because the first 10 weeks, I want to say, he was inactive a handful of times, played very, very minimal defensive snaps, and then really ascended late. His number was called. He thrived. He earned the right, in my opinion, to have a real chance to start. And I think, so far he's played at a level to where if I were a Falcons fan, I would not be concerned about Clark Phillips, a proven football player from his time at Utah, from what he did last year, and from the way that, even last summer, hearing Atlanta's receivers just, speak on how ready he was and how tough he was to actually face in practice and all of this, like he has a lot of respect in there. And I think he's a guy that 2023, class is very, very, Atlanta is relying heavily on a lot of those guys to really take that next step. I think Clark Phillips has a very, very strong chance of being maybe the one guy who makes maybe that largest step forward. With the opportunity that he has, right? And with the new staff, but you also get Jerry Gray coming back. He has a platform, I guess is the way that I want to phrase it, to where he has familiarity. He has a coach that he trusts. He has an opportunity to where it's really in the palm of his hand. And I think this fall he'll probably be able to really capitalize on that, from what I've seen, from how I know he's wired, and from how I know Atlanta staff feels he's wired.
That seems like a solid draft pick if Terry's going to go ahead and, they drafted him last season, and now Raheem has Clark Phillips to possibly make him the number 2 cornerback alongside AJ. Now, you have a group of veterans who's on this team who does a great job. You have Grady, Jake Matthews. Of course, AJ Terrell's been here for a while now. Jesse Bates is on the team. Then you got a lot of these young guys too as well. Clark Phillips is one of them. Matthew Bergeron is another one too as well. Bijan Robinson. But you have so many weapons on both sides of the ball. I'm excited about Clark Atlanta Phillips. I think he's going to hold it down well here. I know some people are looking at the matchups. We got to play DK Metcalf this year. I think we play Jordan Addison and Justin Jefferson too as well. Mike Evans. But if you coach well, if you scheme well, if you practice well, Clark Phillips is going to do his job well, right? Matt Ryan said it the best way: just do your effing job, right? So I have no problem with Clark Phillips if he's going to be the number 2. If it's going to be D. Alford, Mike Hughes, some say Antonio Hamilton. Some might look at Kevin King because of his experience too as well in the NFL. But Clark Phillips saw the tape from when he was drafted from Utah. Then he, of course, came here in Atlanta last year. Of course, it wasn't the most impressive season, but he did a great job. You know, every player did the best they could to be one game away from making it to the playoffs. And Clark Phillips was a part of that 53. So this is great that Clark can probably get a chance to step up and maybe become that CB2. Terry, thoughts on Clark Phillips before you have another question for Daniel?
I think he's fundamentally sound.
Mm-hmm.
I think he's technically sound. I mean, honestly, he kind of has to be. But I don't have any issues with it. I think with Raheem, he's basically – his second corners are typically off ball. My understanding, the plan from what I've heard is for them to do a lot of zone this year. So I'm not concerned. You know, where the only thing that would concern me is, you know, it's 3rd and goal. They're in the 15, and he's going up against Mike Evans. That, you know, but I would imagine
try to look at it and say, they're going to try to take advantage of a play like that.
Right. And I would imagine what's going to happen is you're probably going to shade Jesse to that side. You know, give him some help over the top. So, you know, but again, I can't take anything away from Clark. Looking at the way he plays the game, if you watch the tape, he is technically sound. He's stride for stride with his receiver. He does not look up early. His movements are sound. You know, I mean, every now and then everyone is going to have a PI, but really if you watch him, there's not a lot of that with him. So again, I don't have an issue with it. I just think that this regime is probably thinking, guys, we can't spend money on everybody. You know what I mean?
For his size, he's also an aggressive corner. I'm sorry, Terry. For his size, he's also an aggressive corner that, you know, I don't have to worry about, you know, him getting into too much trouble in a one-on-one, right? He's going to play the game that he knows how to play well. Since he's been at Utah, you can see that he's paid attention well in practice from when he was at Utah. He knows the playbook too as well. He knows where to be. But I saw some plays from Clark Phillips last year that I was like, damn, this guy's good. You know what I'm saying? Like that. Was it Coming to America? That boy good.
That boy got talent.
You got talent. You got some skill, man. But I'm all for it. I saw it with D. Alford too as well. I was on the hill in Flowery Branch yelling D. Alford for him to be on this team when he first had the chance to, you know, try out for the Falcons. But now you can see where D. Alford is, right? And Clark Phillips is just another guy here on the team that I do think can make a major impact this season, especially being in that starter role. Like that is where he wants to be, second-year guy being in the starter role. But yeah, Terry, it's on you, man.
No, I think first off, D. Alford and Clark both have high football IQs. I think you watch them play. They're always looking for an opportunity, first off, to take the ball away, whether that's fumble, whether that's interception, whatever that is. They are ever present, always looking for that, always looking for an edge, and it shows, right? So I don't have an issue with that. And like I say, I think the Falcons have said, look, there's some areas we just got to coach guys up. I think Mike Tomlin said that, you know, some guys or some coaches want everybody to be draft ready, and he said, our job is to coach. Our job is to, you know, and I think that Raheem kind of comes from that same school of thought, so to speak. So I think it's fine. Last question for you. And again, Daniel, thank you so much. The transition from last year's 3-4-4-3, whatever modified scheme that we ran, to this year's 3-4-4-3 modified scheme that we're going to run. Do you think it's going to be an easy one, or do you think it will be a rough transition, and why on both sides?
Yeah, it's going to be a player-by-player case, right? And I say that when you think about some of the guys who were on Atlanta's roster in 2022, right? You've got guys who played in that 3-4, were in a 4-3 last year. You're in a 3-4 again this year. Those are guys who maybe you're not as concerned about. What I'm kind of a little curious about, like with a Caden Ellis, for example, you know, he chose Atlanta in part because of Ryan Nielsen. Played in that same 4-3 in New Orleans. He really had about 1 or 2 years playing extensively in New Orleans, and then now has last year in Atlanta. I'll be curious seeing how it affects him. And just maybe whether, interiorly, if he's seeing blockers and maybe a new way or from new angles or however that may, change things for him and his sight line. I'll be kind of curious seeing how he responds to that. But I think, when you think about a lot of the guys, especially up front, and I think when, you think about a 3-4, I think the line is probably the group that a lot of people look at and say, okay, that's where, the primary change happens. And, a lot of the guys in that group for Atlanta were in a 3-4 in 2022. And so I don't think that they're necessarily as affected. Whether it's, Jarrett, Ebiketie, Graham, Lorenzo Carter, there's a lot of guys who are there who will be on the roster, who were brought into play in a 3-4, who will now again be in that 3-4. And so I think the transition maybe is going to be more, learning the playbook, learning, verbiage and learning, okay, we're going to call it this, but it's really the same as the same thing that we ran last year and we just called it, this. And so I think that's the main thing. I think Drake London called it, for him and the offense, it's like learning multiplication all over again. And so I think the main change comes off the field as far as learning, the phrasing that the staff has
and how signals.
Yeah, I think it's more in that than it is the actual personnel up front. And, I asked Zach Harrison about it. He said that he really hasn't had to change the way that, he's preparing his body or the way that, he's being utilized. It's really a lot the same from last year. And I think it's because Atlanta ran some multiple fronts last year too. And I think, it's something that they plan on executing again this fall, to where I don't think it'll necessarily be as problematic as one may think. And I think the one thing about last year and Ryan Nielsen and some of the players that he brought in specifically for that 4-3, they have, schematic versatility in their frames, in their traits, their skill set, to where I don't think it'll necessarily be, a problem. And, one other thing with that, I asked Grady Jarrett about this the last day of minicamp, kind of just like absorbing the information part of it. And, he talked a lot, instead of more of the on-field part of trying to adjust to, playing in this new front, it's again more of this off the field stuff. And I really think that that's a lot of what it is for him and for a lot of these veterans who've kind of seen, a 3-4 and again are trying to kind of transition here. I don't think the transition will be as problematic as one may think.
Daniel, man, I tell you, talk about the Falcons in a way where I'm telling you, man, I just want to go stand out there for practice and just wait for the 27th. Because
so man, I just want to hit somebody now, man. I honestly,
you're talking to somebody, Terry, who knows his stuff. He definitely follows the Falcons to a point where he keeps it 100. Like everything I've heard is something that not only we've talked about on this channel, but Daniel can confirm this stuff because he is in the room asking questions to the coaches, asking questions to some of the players. Daniel, I know you have some of these journalists that's been in the game, with some of these news crews and media and radio station, but you're one of the up and coming journalists too as well in the game. How are the players treating you? How are the coaches treating you?
A lot of respect, which I really appreciate. Like, I think the last day of practice, I walked out and Dwayne Ledford just, had a small chirp at me and just, it's just like a very subtle, like, hey, what's up? And just very welcoming. And because again, I really kind of emerged more consistently earlier this summer. So it was kind of my first summer being there in person and really trying to form more of these relationships. So I'm very excited to craft more of as we move throughout this summer and then throughout the year and onward. But it's been a lot of respect, which I've really appreciated. And again, very welcoming. Really appreciate the entire PR staff. But again, I've had only positive, my first few months there, very, very fun, very enjoyable, and a lot of good memories too. So they've been great. It's a very, the one thing about the Falcons that I've long felt, they, even, with last year's group and the years, prior, the culture that they have, very, very high character. There's a lot of guys in that room who are just very, very caring, very empathetic. And a lot of people kind of look at that sometimes as a negative. I would not. And these are guys who care about other human beings, and who really want to get to know you more. And so I've really enjoyed that. I've really enjoyed learning, some more stories about where a few of these players and staff members, and, there's so many people who are involved with this organization who a lot of people will never see, but who are great people. And it really makes it fun showing up there every day and seeing these people. And, a lot of people, I think, look at this as like, he writes for this company, he writes for that one. So the rivals, it's really, I know you guys have this on, the podcast side, a lot of friends. It's really just that. Like, it's basically, for me, it is truly a blessing, because I show up there and it's like I'm surrounded by, all of my writing friends and my on-air friends and all these people, and I get to go watch football for a living. And it's really the coolest thing. And I'm so appreciative for that. And it's truly a great environment, a great atmosphere. And it's a lot of fun.
That is just great to hear. Because I'm a Falcon fan, diehard Falcon fan, and we cut this podcast on to talk to the fans, and anything that we can do to make sure fans are excited about this season. They know to come to One Time for the Fan. Sunday nights, Wednesday nights, Friday mornings. We have a lot of pop-up shows that we do too as well, Daniel. But man, you are always welcome here on One Time for the Fan. I can't thank you enough, but I do have one more question, Daniel. We talked about this team so much tonight. Fans want to know, how far can this team go, do you think? Is this team a division-winning team in your eyes? Is this team a playoff team in your eyes? Or should we be looking for, a new head coach by week 6?
I think, I'll put it this way. I am expecting to be covering a game in the middle of January. That's my
gotta bring it up. Wow. You said covering a game in the middle of January. Wait a minute. That sounds like playoffs. Oh, go ahead, Daniel.
Yeah. I mean, that's my expectation with the NFC South, and I think with Kirk Cousins too. The other part of this I want to mention, he the chemistry that he's created on the field, off the field. I'll actually have a pretty lengthy story on that tomorrow morning. The rhythm that he had, for me, watching him throw the football in OTAs and minicamp was so impressive. Like, it really did not look like a guy who was throwing to these wide outs and for the first month and a half that he'd actually been able to throw to them. And it was like he'd been throwing to them for a lot longer than that. And again, he wasn't even fully healthy at that point. And so it's very impressive to me where he's at. I think Atlanta's offense is he's ahead of the game as far as knowing the scheme, because he comes from an offense very similar to it. That quarterback spot with Kirk, again, high expectations. He's already on it, man. And a lot of people, I don't think, are fully expecting him to be where he's at already. He's on it. And I think that with, again, the teams around Atlanta in the South and the talent that they have offensively, the talent they're returning from last year, whether it's a Jared, an Onyemata, Terrell, Jesse Bates, they've got pieces defensively to where I think they can at least hold their own. Mm-hmm. And offensively, I think this could be a top 10 unit to where I really expect Atlanta. I think not making the playoffs would be a very significant letdown. I don't think you go out and pay a quarterback $90 million guaranteed for 2024, 2025 if you're not expecting to play playoff football. And I think everything that I've seen, this is a team that should, if healthy, should make the postseason. Sorry, I'm not exactly used to saying that phrase, but should make.
It's been some years. I mean, it's been some years. Even mentioning playoffs is like, who said that? Like, remember that meme, playoffs? You want to talk about playoffs?
Playoffs.
This is it with the Atlanta Falcons, man. I'm telling you, this season, Raheem, ever since he got here, mentioning outrunning the South, like communicating to the players, like what's going to happen this year, like how they can just be better than what they had in the past. I mean, he's just been a great guy. From what I've seen in the press conferences. And Daniel, I know you're in the room with him. So like you said, that energy is just rubbing off on the whole entire media. I mean, everybody kind of feels that, man, with Kirk Cousins, with Michael Penix for the future, with a young receiving core that Kirk Cousins wanted to be around, like this is it. I mean, we had Mariota where he was a bridge quarterback and we didn't know what was going to happen. Then they went to go with Desmond Ridder and they had Taylor Heineke and we didn't know what was happening there. But now we got a guy that we can look at and say, Kirk can get this done, right? Let's protect him as best as you can, keep him healthy. You mentioned health. That's a big factor into this because with a healthy Kirk Cousins, teams know what's going to happen week 10, week 11. You can get a guy that can go in there and throw for 350 yards easy. Boom, boom, boom. He's so quick on adjustments and his reads. What he talked about, what Kirk Cousins mentioned, watching film on Kyle Pitts, watching films on Drake, watching film of all his receivers and what they can do good and how he can make them better. Like, come on, man. That is a quarterback's quarterback, man. That is a guy that I'm happy to go walk into the Benz week 1 and say, we're going to beat these Steelers. And my 36-year-old quarterback is going to help be a part of that. You know, you can't go wrong with that. So Kirk Frost, if you're listening, Terry, do the thing. There it is. There it is. The Kirk Frost dance.
Is that better?
There it is. That was good. That was actually on camera. Now you're swinging for the fences here, Terry. We're trying to keep it in between the frames. In between.
Zach was joking with me that I was imitating a 20s boxer. Like, hey, come on, guys.
He went out there. He was the first day he did it. He was swinging like he was up here trying to hit the damn. I'm like, is there a fly in there, Terry? He's like, nah, I'm just doing the Kirkle dance. Like, all right, well, I guess
I'm 53. I think after 50, you're just not cool anymore. Okay, you're
53, but you don't look like that when you ran that route the other day at the cookout. Daniel, let me tell you something.
That is kind.
Terry ran a hell of a route. Otherwise, than that Julio Jones catch in the Super Bowl, Terry's catch at this cookout on the sideline before he went into the woods was just amazing. You should have seen this catch. People turn around like, yo, who is that? And I'm over here repping like, that's one time for the fan. That's my boy Terry right there. Yeah. Terry talking about his back hurt, his knee hurt.
Immediately. That's
hell of a catch, Terry. Hell of a catch.
Okay, Daniel, the ball caught me. Okay, number one, I was in front of my daughter, and I just didn't want to be embarrassed. And number two, you can't see this, but I'm 265, 270. I'm a large human being, so I did not want to fall into the woods and embarrass myself in front of my daughter. So I executed all of the graciousness and agility that I had, and I just reached out and caught the ball. At this point in my life, I have no athletic ability.
Toe drag swag, as Nate Burleson would say. That was a touchdown. In college football, 1 foot was in. NFL, both feet were in.
It was more so like, don't go into the woods because you're going to be embarrassed, and then you're going to have to hear from your wife. And I just didn't want to do that.
It wasn't even the woods, Terry. It's a hill that you would have went down to as well, and you would have went to a parking lot at the bottom of that hill. So that would have been bad.
Fear of my wife's critical nature, I was like, I don't want to hear it. So I didn't do it. Jack is being nice. Jack, the check is in the mail.
You know, last summer, Arthur Smith talked about wanting the media to have like our own combine. And I was extremely confident I could win a 40-yard dash race. I was at a pro day this spring. I ran a 40 after everybody left. I would not have won the 40-yard dash race. I would say that. I'm about 5'10", 165. I thought I was going to be a little bit faster than I was. I was not. It was not fun. Not a good showing by me. My arms are going, man, and my legs were not. So I will not release the time that will go with me to the grave. But it was not a pretty time.
Hey man, you know what? You just got to work on it. You know, you just see, Daniel, you're young. You know what I mean? You and Jack are both young. There's hope for you. I'm at the point where everything is being pulled down by gravity. It's, I'm at the point where it's time to coach, right? It's time to get my fat ass on the sideline.
No, sir.
Coach.
You're at the point where you're going to go to your first away game this year.
Absolutely.
Courtesy of the Rise Up Tour fan club. We're going to bring you out to Carolina, Tampa. We got a lot planned going for you. Lisa Shepard has one question for you, Daniel. D-Led. People see him on Twitter. He says a lot of things that fans are like, what is going on with this guy? But I talked to D-Led before. I've been there at training camp. He's a great guy. But then again, fans are like, is he a Falcon fan? I think he's just a passionate Falcon fan that just sees through all the positives, but we got to talk about the negatives too, right? I mean, people do that, right?
Yeah, I love D-Led, man. D-Led's
cool, man.
He is truly he is like Mr. Falcons media. I mean, everybody walks in there and he is the first guy. He is everything, man. I love D-Led. He is incredibly welcoming. It's kind of tricky to answer the question because, you are supposed to remain neutral. And I think he walks a pretty good line there. It's the line that everybody, has to walk. And it's sometimes really hard. Obviously he's been around for a really long time, and he's great. I truly love D-Led. I am very, very proud to call him a friend. Like he is somebody who I greatly look forward to seeing every time that I walk into that press room, man. He's a character. But yeah,
he knows his Falcon stuff too now. He just doesn't tweet it. He knows his Falcon knowledge.
He does. Yeah, he is incredibly knowledgeable. He's been around the game for a very long time. I think he tries to approach it, in ways that other people maybe won't. And that's, every publication has a way that they want to, run their content, and he's, approached that the way that he has. And he's, just won an award for it. He's a phenomenal reporter and a great individual person. And, I've seen a lot of fans who are very anti-Led, and I love D-Led. I love D-Led. And I think, I wish everybody could meet him because he truly is a phenomenal human being, and very excited to see him again in a few weeks.
What's going to happen is, what's up, Terry?
No, I think so. I think D-Led is that guy that, as a journalist, your role is different than a podcaster, right? As podcasters, we interact with the fans, right? We are speaking our opinions. We are keeping it real. We are being honest, but we are keeping our opinions, and we are interacting with the fans. As a journalist and a senior journalist, he has to walk the line between keeping them honest, right? Between keeping Falcons management, Falcons team, Falcons ownership honest, and also interviewing and being cordial. And sometimes that's not easy, right? This is the South, where typically our media is a lot more warm and fuzzy than New York, Philadelphia, other places. But I think, and again, I don't have anything against D-Led. I'm not speaking for or against. I just think that in some instances, certain questions have to be asked, right? And again, I know of D-Led's reputation, so I'm not defending him. I'm simply saying that there are certain instances where you have to ask, and everybody's not gonna like it, and that's okay. Sometimes you need an uncle. Sometimes you need a father in the locker room, right? Meaning if you got a team, somebody's got to be there to be like, oh, no, this stops, right? When Ronald Acuna first came up to the Braves, Ronnie did a lot behind the scenes. And Freddie was that guy that was like, nah, we don't do it this way. We don't do it this. And you know what? They finally got there, right? But if you don't have Freddie to kind of reel in Ronnie, maybe Ronnie's not the player that he is today. A lot of talent, right? But that's the feeling that I get from D-Led. And again, I'm not defending him. I'm just saying he's clearly the elder statesman when it comes to reporters. He's been doing it for a while. And I think that he truly, look, there's a certain thing when it comes to journalism called integrity. There's certain questions you have to ask. There's certain
Daniel mentioned it. He talked about it in the beginning of the podcast. Like, you just don't want to ask the wrong question or say the wrong thing, right?
Correct. So, I mean, I think I think sometimes D-Led gets a bad rap. Again, I'm not around him every day, and I'm not defending him. I'm just saying that in some instances, there's certain questions. Damn, Lisa chose violence.
Lisa, she's in
Lisa chose violence today.
But one thing that they're all going to report on, Terry, is that the Falcons one day is going to win the Super Bowl, especially when we win that Super Bowl, right? Because that's the feeling in the world right there, man. I'm talking about parades, parties. I might even grab the mic and perform. You never know, man. I'd spit a couple 16 here and there. Daniel, I say what's going to happen, man. One day you're definitely going to be on, I don't know, one of these big shows, NFL Network, ESPN. You're going to be on something, right? And they're going to hit you up from time to time. We got Daniel Flick. Daniel, what's going on with the Falcons? Well, let me tell you about the Falcons. Or whatever you're going to be doing, man, because you're just great when it comes to, speaking about the team, about the organization. We definitely got to get you back here on the show. And of course, we're almost near 1,000 in subscribers. I can't tell you enough when I say keep up the great work. Matter of fact, we just said it right there.
It's a thou wow. It's a thou wow.
I said 1,000.
You did.
Okay.
Penalty on yourself.
I think I texted Daniel 1,000 too as well. I owe you an apology, Terry. It's a thou wow.
Yes, but call a penalty because I need the penalty. I need 15 yards. Let's go. Come on. Let's go. Need the whistle. Need the whistle. Come on. Let's be consistent.
He's giving me the whistle for not saying thou wow. Okay.
There you go. Thank you. 15 penalty.
For not saying thou wow. This is cool. Repeat first down.
5 yards.
Terry, you got a whistle earlier. What was that for?
I don't even remember. It was. I have no idea, but it was very trivial. Like I didn't say DH. I didn't say that. I wasn't.
You didn't say BPE. I can tell you.
I didn't go carry on you and use that. Like that was kind of. I don't want to say it was ticky tack, but it's okay. But Lisa is definitely going to be on this week episodes of House of the Dragon because she chose violence. I'm just saying. Anyway.
We do have a special guest joining us Sunday for House of the Dragons, though. But yeah, Terry, it's on you.
No. Go ahead. Hey, on you.
Well, let me tell you something. This is what I'm talking about when it comes to one time for the fan, keeping it real with the fan base. Daniel Flick, for you to take the time out of your day once again to come talk to us here at One Time for the Fan. Yes. I have to say thank you, man. Hats off to you. I know you're going to be there on the 24th. I'll be there on the 27th. I'll be at the Benz August the 2nd. So if you're going to be there, I'm going to be there, man. I'm going to hit you up, man. Come on over to where we're going to be at. Take a couple pictures. You might even go live and talk some Falcons now. You never know, Daniel.
You know what, man? I really appreciate you having me on. I'd be glad to, man. I love talking ball. So I'll be glad to hop on, man. And again, really appreciate you all. Really appreciate all the viewers. And yeah, man, I'm excited, itching, man. I mean, we are I think 2 weeks away. I'm ready to roll. I'm ready to roll.
Let's
Terry,
go.
If that's the way you're gonna hold the camera during the selfie, you might not be in the selfie.
You might. I suck at selfies.
Terry, if you got like 10 or more people, you got to hold the phone up. You don't want to get this view because you might be missing somebody.
Okay.
You got to get up there, Terry. We go. Matter of fact, I remember why you got that damn. I remember why you got the whistle. We're gonna go back to it. Hold on, before we get Daniel out of here.
Oh God, it's another one.
15-yard penalty on Terry for the selfie stick in 2024. We forgot to give you the flag. We're going back now to give you the flag. Matter of fact, the booth went to it. You want to challenge this, Terry? Do you want to challenge this?
I'm throwing the challenge flag. Double jeopardy on Jack. You can't hit me for the same thing twice. I did attempt to.
We're not bringing the selfie stick to the Benz August the 2nd, Terry. I'm not. People don't look like who's your pops. Like that's not my pops. That's my co-host from One Time for the Fan. Put the selfie stick down. That's my co-host.
Where's his cane? Where's his cane? Is somebody helping this guy? Help him up the steps, please. Jesus.
No, man, we're gonna have a great time. We got some great footage to show. Fans is gonna be out there for those that can't make the training camp too as well. So definitely check our social media. But Daniel, this is the shout out portion of the show. We know you got a bunch of shout outs, man, because you are just a true diehard Atlanta Falcon fan. And of course, we just appreciate so much of your time here today on the show. But the shout outs are for you, Daniel. What you got, brother?
Yeah, si.com/NFL/Falcons. Tomorrow morning, I want to say 3,000 word Kirk Cousins story about the way that he went about trying to create relationships this spring and summer. And very excited about that. I wrote it and I thought it was pretty good when I finished. So I'm excited about that dropping tomorrow. Nice. That's a very thorough one. That was one I've been wanting to write for a while. Lisa, record prediction. It's a good question. I actually haven't gone through every game and really thought about that. I'm gonna go 10-7 is where I'll lean. If I went through every game, there's a very high chance I would not end on 10-7. Mm-hmm. But I think that a 10-win team, from what I've seen and from the roster that they have, is what I would expect. But yeah, man, si.com/NFL/Falcons throughout the NFL season. One time for the fan as well. Apparently, is it Friday morning, Sunday night, and Wednesday
Sundays
night?
At 8, Wednesdays at 8, Friday mornings at 9 a.m. Breakfast with One Time for the Fan. And it's, man, we're just picking up steam here. Everybody's just loving the podcast because we just keep it real, man. I mean, you see it here tonight. We tried to keep it within an hour and some change, and we're almost at an hour and a half. So for Falcon fans, this is what we do, man. But yeah, Daniel, you're right.
Yeah, really appreciate you guys, man. And again, I'd be happy to come back on whenever.
Hey, man, this has been great. Terry, any final words with Daniel? Because we're going to do like 5 minutes. We'll go ahead and get Daniel up out of here so that way he can enjoy the rest of his night. And we'll go ahead and wrap up the show here. So any final words we have for our special guest, man, who's our good friend Daniel Flick?
Daniel, keep on doing what you're doing, man. I think you're doing an amazing job. It really doesn't matter what I think, but I just want to tell you anyway. I think you're doing an amazing job. I'm a fan. I've been reading your articles. And number one, you're positive, and we like that. We like that in life. We like that on the show. You choose your words very carefully, and I'm going to predict that you're going to go a long way. And just when you do, remember the little people, okay? We'll be. No, in all seriousness, thank you. You're welcome to come back anytime. Really enjoyed this. Very informative, very detailed, very wise with your words. So I do like that, sir.
Really appreciate you. Jack, Terry, very excited to meet you guys July 27th. Let me know.
Hey,
yes, sir.
It's been great. Falcon fans, please go follow Daniel Flick on all social media platforms. But please don't DM him no 12 o'clock. Hey, Daniel, what you think about the quarterback situation? Man, let that man sleep.
Please.
He's putting out articles. He's putting out information for fans. Don't be DM him no 2 in the morning talking about some, hey, me and my buddies over here drinking. Is Matthew Bergeron the guard of the future? Let that man sleep.
You know what? We owe Daniel a wow. Because he's the first guy that I heard maybe 2 or 3. He's the first guy I heard get Rook's name right. It rolled off. It was beautiful. And I meant to say something, but I didn't want to interrupt him.
Because you think just like me, because I was about to say he did just say that name so smooth.
I was like, damn. I mean, that was perfect. In Rook's entire career, I will never get his name right, which is why I just call him Rook. But I think that was beautiful. I just got to give you your props. Like, that was the way you did that was perfect. I wish we could go back and like do it reel by reel and do it in slow motion, because it just rolled off your tongue, man. Very good. Wish I could do it. I'm too old. Can't do it. Not gonna happen. He's always be Rook to me. R-O, Row. He'll be Row.
Just call him by the number, Terry. Just call him by the number. Remember last year, number 92? Hey, that number 92. What's his name again? Number 92.
I'll call him Row. When he makes a sack, I'll be like, it's Rut-Row. Rut-Row, like Scooby-Doo. Rut-Row.
Sheesh.
Like that, yeah.
Hey, look, Falcon fans, man, this has been great. Daniel, I thank you so much for your time. We're going to get you back here on the show. And, of course, July 27th, man, I'll reach out to you so you can come on over and we can get a couple minutes maybe on live and grab some pictures, man, and just talk some Falcons football. Because when you go when we make it to the playoffs in mid-January, I'm sure I'm going to be there too. I'm sure you're going to be there. Now, what about away games? Do you go to any away games?
There'll be a couple. There will be a couple. I think that probably Carolina. Probably make it to Carolina. Might be a few others I make it to. Probably gonna be more local this year.
Okay.
But we will see.
I'll give you the information for our events in Carolina if you're going to be out there Friday, Saturday, or if you just want to pop by at the tailgate Sunday. I'll give you that information too as well. But Daniel, I thank you so much. We will definitely get you back on One Time for the Fan. Appreciate it, Daniel. Falcon fans, this is what it's all about. I told y'all. Terry told you. Carrie told you.
Yes, she did.
Bodie's not here, but I think he told you too.
He did. And let's throw Chase in there. Why not? But
Chase, my opponent, my op for NCAA. Chase wants violence. He wants violence.
Chase, he's coming for you. Just so you know, he's coming for you, Chase.
Chase was on my Facebook post like, man, what you gonna do? If you scared, just say it. Scared money don't make no money. I said, Chase, you.
He said, study wrong, study long. That's what he said.
Talking that mad and shit.
Oh man. Oh wow.
Yo, Daniel Flick, man, you sent me a message, man. He said, can't wait to see us in a couple weeks. Man, let me tell you something. I knew what was gonna happen when we brought Daniel Flick here. He's just so informative. He knows what he's talking about. He knows his information is correct, is valid. He stands on it. Tomorrow morning, 3,000 word piece. You see how he talked about his work?
Yep.
3,000 word piece tomorrow with Kirk Cousins. Retweet it, share it, tell everybody about it. how the coaches are treating him in that room, how the players are treating him in the room. He is the guy that you might hear 10 years from now covering the Falcons.
Yeah.
Might not be D-Led. It might not be this guy that you heard about from 11 Live or this guy from NBC. It could be Daniel.
Yeah, Lisa likes him. That's for sure. Yeah.
Jay Balmer's in the chat. Greetings and salutations from the Carolinas. Big shout out to Jay Balmer in the chat, a Panther fan here listening to a Falcon podcast. He knows that we're the op.
Hey, how you doing, man? All good. And
he knows that we're the op, Terry. He knows. But at the end of the day, it's all football family, man. Right? Because Jay Balmer, he can come by the tailgate in Carolina. He'll be that one Panther fan with a group of Falcon fans. But hey, if you want to, keep it real, man. Daniel Flick, Terry. How do we follow up with this? How do we follow up with this? I tell you how we follow up with this. We bring A1 to the show Sunday
from
night.
95 North, A1, Chris Moore. What's up?
A1's coming to the show Sunday night. He's here to talk Falcons football. He might even talk some Hawks. Might even get some Braves in here too as well.
You know what? A1 is probably one of the most well-rounded podcasters out there. He can talk anything. Mm-hmm. I really do believe if you wanted to talk checkers, he'd be like, yeah, man, let's talk about it. Do you double jump or not? Like, he's that versatile. So he's
Dre the Boxer. Y'all have really informative interviews. What's the name of the MBS restaurant where they selling the lobster mac again? That would be
is it Hattie B?
No. So here's the deal. When you're at MBS, Country mentioned that when he was talking to Chef Matt, the executive chef that we had on the show. Now, you can go to Mac and Cheese, which is in the section 108. It's the Mercedes-Benz Club on the field level. If you're sitting in the 200 or 300, you can't get that food. So you have to get tickets to the MB Club. Then when you get in there, so here's the deal. The lobster mac and cheese, Country was on the terrace that day.
Mm-hmm.
Had a private chef in that terrace. So he's pretty fancy. Notice I said private chef. So they had a private chef in the terrace. So I guess they made the lobster mac and cheese, like they whipped it up. From what I've seen the last time I've been there, I think they took the lobster mac and cheese off of the menu. I'm going to speak with Chef Matt again and just double check. But I think it's off of the menu in the club, but they had a private chef in their terrace who was able to have the mac and cheese, which is there, and they just whipped the lobster up with it too as well.
So when was in there, was his pinky up like that? Was he
shit? Well, when they're drinking, yeah, I'm sure when they're drinking, they're doing one of these.
Pinky up. Or did he
that terrace life ain't no joke now.
Was he Austin Powers in it, like, you know?
For those heading to the Benz, he said, was it Austin Powers? I'm thinking about the movie now. For those heading to the Benz,
throw me a bone. I'm just kidding. Go ahead.
August the 2nd, One Time for the Fan will be there. So if you want to talk some Falcons football, go live, take some pictures, whatever, man. You know, it's about the Falcon fans. It's all about the Falcons team, organization. So we're going to have a good time. Dre the Boxer, if you're coming by, once again, it's the MB Club. It's called Mac and Cheese. That's the restaurant. But guess what? Chef Matt is going to be back on the show. I talked to him the other day, and he's still saying to me, man, I'm just sorry that I had to cut out during that podcast because I was, he went live with us at the stadium where he was doing a chef prep for Copa, for the FIFA International Committee that was coming down to do a testing for, the big games that they had coming up for Copa. And he had to leave because he had his chefs that was all over the stadium. And he's doing a great job when it comes to being an executive chef. A lot of that food that you see at the stadium, Chef Matt is a part of that too as well. So I'm glad that 9:00 in the morning, he joined One Time for the Fan to talk Falcons and talk about what's going on at the Benz. Lisa Shepard's in the chat. She said, get your tickets for the open practice, y'all. It's at the Benz. July 27th, it's at the high school in Buford. Of course, August 2nd, it's at the Benz. And I want to give a big shout out to Lisa Shepard too as well. Lisa Shepard cut an article the other day on the Rise Up Tour fan club and the cruise that we just went on for Blogging Dirty. Big shout out to Lisa Shepard. Journalists, writers, my hat goes off to you all. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? Because you know how this media thing is difficult sometimes with cutting on the podcast, going live, or just maybe writing an article, getting the information you need for the piece to put the stuff out. Lisa Shepard does a great job of doing that. And Block and Dirty has a real one. We talked to Scott Karisic from Block and Dirty. We've talked to Savion from the Sporting News. We've talked to Daniel Flick right here from Sports Illustrated. But Lisa Shepard, she's been on the podcast too. That was a nice article that you did on the Rise Up Tour fan club. Lisa, you want to do some more on the Rise Up Tour fan club or One Time for the Fan? We have so much going on here this season. So let me know. I'll definitely put the article up here so fans can see it. But that cruise has taken off to where so many fans are seeing the videos and the pictures, and now they're hitting us up like, I want to be on that cruise. I need to be on the one for 2025. And now the rooms are just getting like every day, like we're just getting more and more people booking for this cruise. So what we do with the fan club is big. I didn't mention it too much with Daniel because, when we have special guests, it's about the special guests, right? It's, and Daniel is true to the bone, 100% Falcon fan. Right. And he knows that he sees a team that is ready to go. And I know the fans in the chat here is ready to go. But July 24th, that's the practice. July 27th, open to the public. We'll be there. August the 2nd at the Benz. We'll be there because we're ready. Terry, we're a month in the change. We're a month and some change away from preseason, bro.
We are. Real quick, I just wanted to say also, Lisa's very positive. Like if, at Lisa's post, you look at her articles, you can tell that number one, she loves what she does. She it comes across. And she's positive and she is always uplifting. So I wanted to say that because, a lot of times, we just mentioned that, but you guys really need to go and check out her work because, there are people that just have a certain energy. You know what I mean? Young folks use this word all the time, energy. But the energy coming off her is she's positive. It's like she wants to do it, right? It's like, okay, I'm doing this. This is a part of my job, but I love it, right? And you can feel that. You can, when you see her traveling, when you see her in different locations, you can feel that. So I wanted to say that. Now that I said that, bro, we're like 2 weeks away. Let's get after it, man. Let's do it. You know what I hate?
Man.
I hate that we can't have that little activity that we talked about. Can we talk about it since it's not going to happen? Since we're not
because we're live. If you want to text me what activity it is before I go ahead and say, oh yeah, sure, let's talk about that. Because next thing you know, it's like edit that shit.
The one that we were gonna do at the training camp, like after hours, where we were gonna get together.
It's possible now. I think we were going to do it before, but it's possible now that it might be done. It's a 6 p.m. practice, so fans are going to be downtown after the event is still over. It's a Friday night, 6 p.m. Was it Friday or Saturday? August 2nd.
I don't know. You got me there.
Let's check and see. I could have sworn it's a Saturday. What the? StreamYard, don't be StreamYarding me. Oh, here it is. All right, good.
We don't want to go underwater, StreamYard.
No, we're good. A Friday, August the 2nd, at the Benz, Friday Night Lights, 6 p.m. Maybe afterwards, we head to Magic City or however y'all want to do it. Falcon fans, hit that like, share, and subscribe button.
I'm talking about there, Jack, but okay, I'll talk to you offline. That's
Tweet us. Falcon fan, hit that like, share, and subscribe button.
Wow.
It's going down in a major way. Timothy Harris said, "What's the information for the cruise?" Tim
Jack
Harris is in the Rise Up Tour fan club. Tim, you see the post, man. But guess what? Because he's here on the channel, he's helping us out. Tim is letting everybody else know. Hey, Jack, why don't you put the cruise up for fans can see so you can talk about it as we're over here, excited about this upcoming season. The Sun and Fun Cruise Part 2 is going down in a major way. How is it going down in a major way, Jack? Well, a lot of fans have already started booking for the cruise. Group ID is right there. Bam. See, I can click it. I can zoom in. Bam. I can zoom out. Bam. That's called technology. Then you can see right here the Sun and Fun Cruise, May 22nd through the 26th, 2025. We're going to the Bahamas. Terry, play some Caribbean music.
Oh, wow.
Damn it, Terry. You're supposed to be on cue with this. We're trying to get like Uncle Steve.
I missed it. I didn't have
Uncle Steve look over there.
I didn't have
play the button. And then that song starts and you start singing and then the theme in the background and the lights and
only thing I got is daylight come and me won't go home. That's it. That's all I got. No, nothing. Daylight come. It's
I'm not
Harry
going to blow the whistle on that
Belafonte.
one.
Come on, it's Harry Belafonte. We can't get it for Harry. His daughter Sherry. Come on.
Falcon fans, the
Daylight come
cruise.
and me want to go home.
That's Beetlejuice. Falcon fans, hit the like, share, and subscribe button.
Beetlejuice, but it was performed by. I think it was performed by Harry Belafonte. Hold on. I think it was.
Pull that one up there. Let's see what you got on the facts for that one. Oh, Colombia is about to beat Uruguay for the Copa America. Now, going to the Bahamas next year. The deposit, once you call Carnival to get you squared away, however you want to run your, I guess, monthly deposits or week. I don't know how you guys want to do it because everybody's money is different. But last week we had about 140 fans or so, Falcon fans on the cruise. Everybody had a great time. But next year, we're taking it to the next level. We'll probably have about 200-300 fans on the boat, maybe even more, because all the videos and pictures are just picking up around social media, and fans are like, this is so cool. But we have a lot of people that's booked for next year too as well. So the Rise Up Tour fan club, and there's no discounts with this for members. I know members are hitting us up like, where's the discount for us? Not this one. This is Carnival, right? So we rock with what they got going on. Of course, we had the cruise this year, so they were very helpful in making sure that we can get everybody situated for next year. Terry, I got this shit blocking the screen, don't I? Yes, I do. I was on the other screen watching it. I'm sorry. Sun and Fun Cruise is right there. The information is up there. But guess what?
Anything. It was by Harry Belafonte. I was giving you your music as you requested, and you said nothing. But okay.
It was Harry Belafonte.
It was Harry, but still is Harry Belafonte. Yes, it is. Yep. Freddie.
There's Freddie.
Freddie was getting it in. Okay. And I gotta say, Freddie's got his trunks on.
Look at Freddie on the cruise. Look at Freddie.
Feel about Freddie with trunks. I don't know. I'm just gonna say pause. That's all I'm gonna say. Look at Thomas.
Big shout out to Thomas from the Rise Up Tour fan club. Big shout out to everybody that's a part of the group over there. We have a lot going on. I'm trying to find the picture that let's see. Well, here was the. Let's see. This is some of it. That's the all-white party. That's not even the entire group. Like, we had so many people decked out all over the boat. But that's what it's all about, man. We are diehard Atlanta Falcon fans. Now, I know some Falcon fans hitting me up like, Jack, what's up with that bus trip, Terry? Terry, you on the bus, right?
I'm on the bus, sir. Get on the bus. Isn't that a movie? Get on the bus? It was.
Get on the bus.
Get on the bus.
Falcon fans is going down in a major way when we have these trips coming up for the upcoming games. I want to go ahead and pull this up right here. I'm just working the boards tonight. Google needs to hire me. Rise Up Tour fan club, bus trip to Carolina. Yo, my boy Jay, we're heading up your way. So if you want to come out and have a good time, hopefully it's not raining that day. But the bus trip to Carolina, Falcon fans, $100 per person. We're packing out the buses, tailgate for everybody that's on the bus too as well. And then of course we also have discounted prices for our Rise Up Tour members. So that's going down in a major way. Terry,
yes,
there's just so much going on this season, man. Like we talked to Daniel today. Training camps in 2 weeks, open to the public, practices in a couple days right after that. August the 2nd, then the preseason. Like, we're right here, Terry. It's literally knocking on the door.
It's here, brother. It's here. Get ready. Because if you stay ready, you don't have to get ready. So I hope you're ready because it's here. It's in the now. Let's go. Let's do it,
Falcon
man.
fans is going down in a major way.
Yep.
Matter of fact, I got another picture. Got one right here. I know fans love seeing this because they're like, yo, these pictures on the boat, the cruise, everything is great. Fans are enjoying themselves. What's up, Terry?
No, I'm saying it's the visitor jersey. Are those swim trunks he has on with that visitor jersey?
Who?
Those dude with the shorts on and the jersey. I'm
with the shorts on
and the jersey. Like, no.
No.
Go back. Those are shorts. Are those Falcon shorts? Like, what are those?
No, those are Falcon shorts.
Okay.
Those are Falcon. Oh, it's Falcon fanned out now. Oh, we turned up and turned out.
I'm thinking of what I'm gonna wear next year. That's like, when I have on my visitor Falcons jersey. I'm just think.
Want to pull this up? Bus trip to Tampa. Let's go down there and beat the Bucks, y'all. Bus trip to Tampa.
Beat their
buses. Huh?
Beat their arses.
Shit. Bus trip is already starting to fill up. Might even pack out 2 buses. But of course, information is right there on your screen. Please, if you want to be a part of it, there's a deadline that's like September 15th, I think it is. But same thing we did last year. We're going to go down there. We're going to turn up Tampa. We have events, meet and greets, that type of thing, all on the road. We've been doing this for so long, man. It's just a great feeling. Matter of fact, I have to get off here and then go into a meeting of working on this event that we have coming up because it doesn't stop. 10 o'clock at night, we're still trying to plan things. So, Terry.
The party's not over.
It's not over, and it will never be over. Falcon fans, hit that like, share, subscribe button. William, Amy, it's going to be hard to not hip the tackle. To not hip tackle this year. With the new rule change with the hip tackling. Yeah, however, the referees are going to manage that. You know, that's on them because you got some referees that's like standing right in front of the play. They will see it happen, not blow the whistle or call the flag. And then you got some big games like NFC Championship game. A guy might lightly make the hip tackle and then pull back. And next you know, he's ejected and 15-yard penalty, and it causes the game to go a different way. So it is what it is with that hip tackle situation. I heard Rich McKay speak on it, heard the NFL speak on it. And some players like it, some players don't. But the new tackling situation for players, you just got to adjust. It's difficult because when you're in that game and you're in that mode and the guy's running and you're trying to tackle him, it's like, oh, I got to remember that penalty. Some players don't even think about that shit. They're just going for the tackle.
Yeah. Well,
right. And then here comes the ref with blowing the whistle, throwing the flag.
Yeah, there's a natural progression to where if you're grabbing somebody's side, your hand can slide down and there you are. So that's my concern, right? I mean, because a lot of times it happens and you're not trying to do it, right? You're not. And I know they're trying to protect the game, but you know, you're grabbing a guy at his shirt, you're hanging on for dear life, your hand slide, you're doing what you got to do to get him down, and you ultimately pull him up. So that's going to be my concern in regards to like
there he is. Sunday night, A1 Forever. He's live with us talking Falcons football.
In the show. Mr. Versatile. Can talk about anything.
Timothy Harris says, I'm a member, but I might drive up to the Carolina game. Is there a charge for the tailgate? Yes, there is a charge for the tailgate. For Rise Up Tour fan club members, it's a different price than everybody else. But then again, we have that dude looked just like Mbappe. I don't know why they just showed him on the screen. Carolina tailgate, there's a fee. Denver tailgate, there's a fee. And Vegas tailgate, there's a fee. Trying to think of any more cities that were doing the tailgates. I think Washington, the group hit us up, and I'm like, man, I'm just going to go to my seats in Washington. I don't know. We'll see about that. But yeah, Vegas, Denver, Carolina, and I think I'm working on another tailgate. People trying to get me to do one in Philly.
Bruh,
chill out, bruh. And I got some Philly fans with me too as well. I got some Eagle fans I'll be rolling to the game with. So they're like, yo, we're going to have a good time. It's going to be great. Don't worry about it. Nobody going to talk shit. But I'd rather fans not, look to have a tailgate in a situation where they're probably going to lose week 1 to the Packers. So when they come back week 2, they're going to be like pissed to be drinking all weekend that morning to the evening to get ready for that 8:30 game in Philly.
Agree.
That's a Meek Mill type game. I just have a feeling that he's going to be at the game, you know. But yes, Timothy Harris, small fee for the tailgate. But Denver, Vegas, all this information, all this stuff will be out soon.
Ready to tailgate in Minnesota.
DA Hunter said tailgate in Minnesota. It'll probably be too cold. No, we're not doing Minnesota. We got the host hotel up for Minnesota, so Rise Up Tour fan club members, we're right there next to the stadium, so you get that rate, which is probably the cheapest in the city. How can I say it? Are they fighting? Oh, they're fighting in the stands. Oh, they're fighting in this. Oh, they are fighting. No, they are throwing punches. Is that the players?
They're throwing haymakers. Well,
at the Copa America right now, it looks like Uruguay has ran in the stands and they're fighting the Colombian fans.
Players or the fans?
The players. Those look like players.
Oh, somebody must have threw something on somebody.
Oh, they are fighting.
Wait, what channel is that on?
It's on FS1 right now. I know they just cut away from it, but they just showed the overhead view of it looked like the team because the guy's wearing the kit where he's wearing the practice kit, but you can see fists going, oh my gosh. Oh, hey man. That's what soccer's all about. You got these countries, and I'm telling people about here in America with World Cup when the shit gets going, you got these countries, England has said a lot of, disrespectful chants in their stands with their fans. Here they come, over to play the championship now in the Euros, and it's going to qualify themselves to be in this World Cup soon. So, quarterfinals is here in Atlanta, man. It's going to heat up. It's going to be about 3-4 million people, here in Atlanta for that time period. But no tailgate in Minnesota. We do have the events planned. Everything will be out shortly for those that's traveling. But if you're listening, if you're watching, I do have to say this. A lot of fans comment here on the chat and on the channel. It's a live chat and channel, so I can't really respond so that way you can see it. So if you want to send Jack Spade a message on Facebook, One Time for the Fan a message on Facebook, follow us on Twitter. Any way you can reach out to us about the Rise Up Tour Fan Club, because I had somebody on Apple Podcasts the other day who was listening to us from I think they were in Seattle or somewhere in the Pacific North, whatever, up there Northwest. They were listening over there and saying, yo, I want to be a part of this. I travel to games too as well. Had no idea that you guys do this. But he was able to reach out to me through the Apple Podcast, and I sent him my email, and then we talked about how we can get him to be a member of the group. But yeah, it's going down in a major way this season. Can't thank you all enough. But Daniel mentioned it. They have the open to the public training camp coming up on the 27th. Fans here in the chat, some of y'all can't make it. Some of y'all can't make it to the public, to the one at Gwinnett at the high school, or August the 2nd. So, right there at the bottom of your screen. Go to Instagram right now. If you're listening to this, if you're watching this, go to Instagram. Go to One Time for the Fan. Hit that follow button. I'll follow you back. And I'm going to show y'all in-depth, behind the scenes, exclusive shit that you won't see. Not only at training camp, but the away games, the home games, probably even talking to players, pictures, that type of thing. But it's exclusive, man. Terry, you know how exclusive it's going to be because I talked to you about it. So you might even see some celebrities on there. You know what I'm saying? You might even see some players on there. You might even see some whoever. But IG right there, Instagram, One Time for the Fan. Go ahead and hit that follow button. And we'll be posting a lot of stuff this weekend. But then that training camp on the 27th, you might even see me. I might even go live on YouTube. I might just go live on IG with Daniel Flick on the 27th.
Jack,
want to see that?
Podcaster to the stars. Jack, your martinis, are they shaken or stirred? I don't know. What a Jack Spade.
Actually, they would be on the floor because I don't drink martinis.
Okay.
So they'll come over there and be like, drink for you, sir. It's from the table down there. I'll look at it and say it's poison and throw it to the ground.
Really? Jack Spade doesn't drink martinis.
No martinis.
Oh, you're not the next James Bond, Jack. Is that not you? Are you? Did they hear
that
about
that is definitely not me.
That's not you. I'm disappointed, Jack.
Definitely not me.
No. Wow. Okay.
Terry, this has been great. An extra couple of minutes after Daniel Flick has left. I'm sure he's probably going to go work on another piece for Falcon fans. But he has an article coming out tomorrow. So make sure you guys head on over to Daniel Flick's page on social media, on Twitter or X, whatever it's called now. And give him a follow, like, share, retweet. Give him a big shout out for the show tonight. But Terry, the shout outs now belong to you, sir.
Yes, sir. First and foremost, shout out to every single one of the fans who joined us for this show in this chat, and every single one of the fans who didn't. Guys, we want to thank you. We appreciate you. We would not be here without you. We do this for you and with you, and look forward to doing it every Sunday, every Wednesday, every Friday morning, and pop-up shows as well. So thank you, guys. Also want to thank God, because without him, nothing else matters. We're not here. I'm not here. So thank you, God, for my family, for my friends, for these fans, for my Falcons, for me, for my family. And last but not least, Jack, my friend, I cannot thank you enough. This is so much fun doing this with you every Sunday, every Wednesday, every Friday, and the pop-ups. And looking forward to doing it again. As long as you keep inviting me, sir, I will keep coming back. And the floor.
Whoa. So I got a little bit of it here. Might be able to share it with you. Terry.
Fight? Is that the fight?
Uruguayan fans ran into the stands and they're getting active. They are getting active.
They are about that life.
Oh, they're about that life.
About that life? They are
about that life.
Somebody better call Pookie.
Not Pookie. This is Uruguay and Colombia.
Somebody better call Pookie from the game. He need to straighten it out.
Sheesh.
Straighten it out. Just saying.
Falcon fans, shout out to you all. Shout out to Daniel Flick.
Yes.
Taking the time
yes.
to talk to us today on the podcast.
Yes.
Big shout out to Kerry. Big shout out to Chase.
Yes.
Chase, you're gonna get smacked down in this NCAA or this Madden. You know what's gonna happen.
He
saw you run a play.
Run up, you're gonna get done up, Chase.
Chase don't know. Chase don't know. I'm on like full scout alert right now. Like I'm scouting Chase. He posted a play on Madden the other day, and I'm watching the play, and I'm like,
How does song go by Glorilla? Run up, get done up. Wait a minute. Wait. Hey Glow, something like that. Yeah, that's what Chase gonna get. Run up, get done up, Chase. That's what Jack said. Jack, why is that look of astonishment on your face?
Glorilla called. Terry, you been listening to goddamn Glorilla?
Hey man, hey, it was on the YouTube the other day, and I was like, I like the beat and everything. I can dig it,
Terry out there listening to Glorilla in the truck. Yeah, Glow.
Hey, I kind of liked it a little bit, low key. I did.
Up there twisting your fingers, Terry. You going back in the day now? You twisting your fingers up now?
I was trying to do the Memphis juking. Isn't that what y'all call it or whatever, that dance? I was trying.
Don't tell me you was in there juking like Lil Buck them.
I was trying, man. I was, hey, you know what I mean? Okay, it was terrible, but I did try it. I did.
I was in there doing the Memphis juke. So
I was trying. Hey, I love that dance. I love those videos. There's that one lady on there. She's real small, but man, I know you know who I'm talking about, Jack. Like she's very short. But she can do it.
That's the girl who runs that LFE company who does it. She's going viral every single day. But one of them, I ain't gonna mention who, apparently is a Falcon fan. So I need to go ahead and reach out, see if we can get some juking going on here on the channel.
Hey, let's do it. 330 is asking, can I do Bane? I do a very bad Bane. Let me see. Oh shit. I got a friend of mine who does Bane well. I don't, but I because
Sunday night for Bane? Are you trying Bane now or Sunday night for Bane?
I'll do it now. Hold on.
Oh.
I heard my voice like this. Hold on. Okay. I was born in the darkness. You merely adapted to it. A little bit of Darth Vader in there. Yeah. I was born in the darkness.
If you can do the Bane during your segments when you mention the Falcons, I think that would be great for the podcast. They'd be like, yo, he's bringing Bane out and he's talking Falcons.
You know what? And it's funny he says that.
Right? 1 and 1 plus 1 and 1 makes 2, right? Am I right?
Bro, I usually say that when I'm whooping somebody's ass on Madden. I'm like, I was born in the darkness. Like when they throw some shit that they didn't think before, and I'm disguising my coverage, and let me get that up out when I intercept it. You know what I mean? And I just follow with this. I was born in the dark. Oh, that's I gotta work.
I ain't gonna lie. I'd be whooping people on Madden. I'll give my son the mic and then make them think they were playing my son. So
damn.
He be over there trash talking. I be over there doing the plays. He be like, yeah, you see this? Man, you so mid. You so mud. He be going off in the chat with them, and then he'll give back the microphone. He be getting back the headset. He be like, this guy's starting to curse now.
So you're like
over there working that dude, working him.
You're like the dude from Avengers where he was like arguing with this kid, and this kid's like, you suck. And Thor's like, I will come and destroy you if you continue to talk to my friend that way.
And that goes for anybody who's playing me in NCAA coming up. Don't leave the game second quarter, because I'm gonna be putting some people in some bad situations when they get NCAA come out. Y'all gonna be taking off of work, not going on dates with your wife or your girl to play NCAA, to play somebody like me that's gonna drag you through the mud for 20 minutes in this game. Terry?
Yep.
Once again, also, if you never played Madden, don't try to jump on NCAA 2. You're going to look foolish if you don't play Madden and you jumping on NCAA talking about you're going to beat somebody. No, you're not. Falcon fans, hit that like, hit that share, hit that subscribe button. My boy Dre said that's crime mob. Nuck if you buck. Sheesh. Taking it back to old ATL, man. Hey, now, Falcon fans, we'll be back Sunday night to talk some Falcons football with you all. No Friday morning podcast. T Will from one time for the fan and for my ATL Sports will probably be going live. He's been doing a lot of pop-up shows too as well. I believe you were live today, right?
Terry? Talk about the Hawks, man, what they're doing and where they're going and all that stuff.
I don't even want to spend time talking more about this because I saw something today where a player was announced for the Hawks and there was money involved. And I looked down and I said, oh, shit, we signed Kevin Durant? No, we didn't.
I believe your comment was, what the – it was either what WTH or WTF.
Well, the first – when I looked up and the first letter was V, I said, let me see. Who do I know in the NBA whose name starts with a V that we would love to have here? I don't know. But yeah, the Hawks got a guy that apparently is their bench guy, bench guard.
Yeah, he's a good 3-point shooter, right? So,
okay,
we had a litany of injuries last year, and the one thing that came through that was some guys that didn't play before got a chance to play. And he was one of them, and he did really well. I think his 3-point percentage was very high. They gave him a deal. I think it's $10 million for 4 years. It's very team friendly. Mm-hmm. So that was it.
T Will, what's your channel name before we get up out of here, brother?
For my ATL Sports 1. Thank you, 3 Dirty. For my ATL Sports 1. It's on YouTube. And
feel free to drop the link in the chat, Terry, if you want to. If you want to go ahead and drop your information in the chat, definitely. Terry does a great job talking Braves, talking Hawks. Of course, you see him here talking Falcons. And he's taking it to the next level, man. He has special guests already on his show. He's going live a couple times during the day. He was on, he was on a morning podcast with us. After that, he went to go do another podcast talking Braves, talking Hawks. But he does a great job when breaking down sports, man, when it comes to these Atlanta teams. So for my ATL Sports 1, big shout to Terry, T. Will, big shout to Bodie, big shout to Chase, Carrie, everybody, man. I want to say thank you. We'll be back Sunday night, 8 p.m. A1 forever.
Chris is
going to be here talking Falcons with us.
Chris.
A1 forever.
Chris is that dude, man.
He sure is.
That
Terry.
Yep. We outie.